Hello,
Hi.
hello, hello, everyone. This is Maya, and we're going to be talking with her. Co-host Morgan has been out in Arizona, partying and having fun with a wedding, and is stuck in traffic. So she'll be back when she can. I'm really glad that all of y'all are here. We're going to have a. This is going to be a very eye-opening discussion and information. If you, as I, did not get involved with the online world until I was, I don't know, in my 50s. So Maya has a completely different story to tell. It's very important, and we will get into some of what she has seen and observed. But first, I want to bring you some news about what's going on in the world of gender. And just this week, on April 4th, a 25, and I want y'all to keep this in mind because I'm going to wind up on something that has me so angry. And we'll get into that in a minute. So keep all of this in mind. On April 4th, a 25-year Finnish study found that teens who gender transition, no, let me try that again. Oh, my glasses. A 25-year Finnish study finds teens gender transition does not solve their psychological problems. A major Finnish study spanning up to 25 years has found that medical gender reassignment for adolescents and young adults under 23 does not reduce their need for specialist psychiatric care. It also found that in those who underwent hormonal or surgical intervention, psychiatric morbidity increased markedly. And of course, this is contrary to the narrative um, that we are being fed. The research published in Acta Pediatrica on April 4th examined all 2,083 individuals who contacted Finland's specialized gender identity services before age 23 between 1996 and 2019, matched against 16,643 controls from the general population. The median follow-up was nearly 5 years, with some cases tracked for a full quarter century. Overall, gender-referred adolescents showed far higher psychiatric morbidity that matched controls before referral, 45.7% versus 15% overall. Hold on, let me just, sorry. Okay. Versus, sorry, I'm still learning StreamYard. At any rate, let me just skip ahead. Finland was among the first European countries to conduct systematic evidence reviews of gender affirming care for minors. And then on April 15th, friend of show Erin Kimberly, who was our first guest, won a Best Abstract Award for experiences of sexual assault among trans men, a feminist narrative inquiry at the 2026 Radical Togetherness at a Time of Disconnect Interdisciplinary Student Conference. Erin, who's a student at the University of Alberta, Canada, examined the testimonies of 3 trans men who had experienced sexual assault. The sample was small, but the narratives revealed clear patterns. Each participant described a life trajectory that began with punishment for being gender non-conforming girls who were attracted to other girls. As they grew older, that discipline intensified. All 3 participants grew up working class in religious environments, which appeared to produce a perfect storm of gender nonconformity, economic precarity, and moralized ideas about femininity which interacted in ways that increased their vulnerability to sexual violence. Okay. And then on April 15th, Morgan's friend from another podcast that she helps host called The Whiners, I got a tip from Jeff Norman on that show saying might want to take a look at the Miss America gender identity controversy. And so what happened was that Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer posted on X that, quote, to advance in competition, Miss North Florida 2025, Kaylee Bush was told to sign a contract that forced her to compete against men in the Miss America pageant. She refused. The Florida Attorney General sent a letter to the Miss America organization objecting to its policies that appeared to allow contestants who had fully completed sex reassignment surgery via vaginoplasty with supporting media documentation and records. The Miss America committee objected that that's not what the words meant. But law professor Eugene Volokh said, people obviously have sharp disputes about how to define Miss Asian, consider the eligibility rules for Miss Asian America, democracy, genocide, global warming, and a vast range of other terms. But he said, he's a law professor, it's not for the government to resolve how people can use those terms in books, films, plays, pageants, and other fully First Amendment protected materials, and in promotion of those materials that characterize the content of the materials. And that is pretty much what is going on in a lot of institutions which receive federal funds, including insisting a professor use a student's preferred pronouns, and if all of those things that are going on in the academy, which are quite disturbing. Then on April 17th at the University of Alberta, Dr. Karine Kachadurian, one of the first doctors in Canada to provide hormones to trans-identifying youth, now believes most kids should not be medicalized. She called for a reassessment of the practice. And then today, the world famous Southern Poverty Law Center that I once thought was the best thing just about that Alabama had ever produced has totally gone off the rails. It started out as being a strong advocate for poor people, especially during the Civil Rights Movement. And one of its founders was Morris Dees. And then we learned maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago that the Southern Poverty Law Center, which has been pushing the narrative that the U.S. is overrun with hate groups. And when you look into those hate groups, some of them are like two people living on a farm in backwoods Alabama, As hate groups go, that's not much, but it's useful to the Southern Poverty Law Center because people will fund an organization that has a reputation of being on the side of poor people, but in fact, they have pretty much abandoned their focus on poor people and Black people. And in fact, as I was about to say, it was discovered, 5, 6, 7 years ago, that the Southern Poverty Law Center had $1 billion, I believe was the number, in offshore accounts sitting there. And the reason people have offshore accounts is to avoid having to pay taxes on their funds, and that Morris Dees had been involved in numerous sexual harassment issues and racial harassment issues. And I can tell you, my husband and I used to send money to the Southern Poverty Law Center all the time, every month or every year, whenever they asked for it. And we stopped after we learned about keeping that money offshore and not using it for the intended purpose, which was to provide robust legal defense for poor clients. And meanwhile, the Southern Poverty, I mean, you could even see it if you went to Montgomery, as we did, and you see their offices. It's a palace. It's a huge, extravagantly expensive palace. So what they did in their announcement today was to say that GenSpect, which is one of the groups that is most devoted to exposing the medical harms done to children. It's an offshoot of a podcast that I watched maybe 100 episodes of, which is how I learned of Aaron and of Jesse Harris that we had on last week, and other people like Johnny Skinner, who's going to come on the show. They are doing tremendous work, but the Southern Poverty Law Center has named them a hate group. That is beyond, that is not a different take on a set of facts. That's a flat out lie. And that is the kind of thing that the intention is to discredit not only GenSpect, but to discredit the people who are funding them, to discredit the D-Trans Awareness Day, which was just held in Washington, D.C. And it's like, what have we come to? What have we come to when people will say and do anything to malign people whose major goal is for people like Maya not to be exposed to the things that she was exposed to, and have their children taken away from them if they won't act affirming, which has happened. And one of the women that's happened to is going to come on the show too. So anyway, that's my introduction. I don't want to go on and on and on. And if you have any comments, of course, put them or questions, put them in the comments section. And meanwhile, I'll ask Maya, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I hadn't been super aware of the first of all, I remember the Southern Poverty Law Center and the GenSpect thing. That was the first thing on my mind. I hadn't known about them before. I had been looking up, GenSpect, and I had found that they labeled it as a hate group. I believe the reason they do that is because that they see being transgender as like an immutable trait, like your race or your sexuality, like equivalent to that, and so or like a religion. So to say anything against it would be like hate speech. And not even, and sometimes when I see people say this, it's not even like, oh, I hate these people or they're bad or something like that. It's just like
Yeah.
questioning
Yeah.
and become
Yes.
heretical so fast.
No, that's
So
a
they
very,
label this group as a hate group for doing what? For talking.
for talking. Yes. For talking and having people on their show who tell of their own experiences, which,
Questioning the narrative, like, is any other group treated this way?
I mean,
If
it's
you had
just,
went on there talking about like a religion, like if you had gone like, oh yeah, I'm gonna sit up here and question Christianity, would you really be labeled as a hate group?
yeah.
It's
Well,
it's
and
it's to discredit them, like you said.
one of the things, so let me tell people a little bit about you. You are 19 years old,
I am.
and when you were 10 years old, is my little video.
Yeah, that was when I was 10, but it wasn't really when I started to identify as trans. That was when I was 12. or 13. I can't remember. I was in 8th grade. But
So
was I in 8th grade? Yeah.
I was
Oh no,
intending
I was
to.
in 7th grade. I'm sorry, I'm getting mixed up. So I
It's
was in
okay.
7th grade. I
No,
was
I
12.
was intending to convey
The
that at the
10-year
age
video,
of
that
10,
is
we
when
were
I,
getting online,
yeah,
right?
that actually
Yeah.
was just a random picture of me online. I actually had access to the internet since I was like 8 years old. So that
Oh,
was just a random
okay.
picture
Yeah,
online.
you did
10
tell
is
me
a
that.
special age for me, though, related to this, in that that was how old I was when I met trans people for the first time. It was at summer camp. I had not one but two trans identified friends. One of them was my age at the time, also 10, and at that age I think it's the parents. And another one was a teenager, because they had like mixed age groups sometimes, and they would like break out and then mix. So I had known older and younger kids at this camp, and so one of them was a trans identified teenager. And these were like people I was very close to, so this is how I learned about it. It was people I knew, and it was just like a fact to me, like anything else. As a child, you're learning about the world. You don't know, you don't have an opinion on things. You're learning what is real. So this is the people I know. When you look up online, or in like either on YouTube, or like in sex education books, courses, whatever, it'll just say this is what it is. I had also learned about it on YouTube, where people would make like documentaries and stuff, and they when medical and documentaries like that talk about it, it's just fact. It's They're saying it as if this is just accepted science, like any other medical condition and treatment. And I'd also learned about it in sex education books. And so, and again, it's presented as facts. I'm like, okay, this is just the truth. I obviously didn't have an opinion on it. I was a child.
Yeah, yeah. No, I thought you had more to say on that. So, yeah, it's presented. The language is very like, Morgan, are you there? Okay, I actually have some slides of, let me see if I can. Okay, so over
Yes,
time,
I'm here. Let me.
okay. I'm just looking for these slides that Maya sent me of exchanges she had, or things she wrote and screenshot, I guess, on in these various groups. And I was about to say the language is very, people say very definite things.
Yeah,
Let's see. Yeah,
I
I've got to.
did. If you were gonna bring that up about things I found, I do want to get into a little bit about how I came to identify as trans. If that's okay, if I just start there
Yeah,
before you pull up some other
yeah,
things.
sure. Yeah, yeah.
So I had known about it for some time beforehand, but I didn't think that was me, because the way it was at first described, like, oh, you just know. I'm like, okay, I don't know, so I'm not trans. But then I had when I was around that age, like adolescence, preteens, I was depressed, and I had also learned that I like girls and started identifying as LGBTQ in general. So that's what led me to
Yeah.
the Trevor Project, which is a
Yeah.
suicide
Okay.
hotline for LGBTQ young people, teens, and young adults. And so they recommended I go to Trevor Space for friendship online. And so I had joined that site, and I saw people talk, and they would describe like gender dysphoria and stuff that they went through, and it was relatable, straight up. And I'm like, okay, I'm really questioning, because I'm not a girly girl. I'm I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm the most masculine person ever. I'm normal, like everybody else. I'm masculine and feminine, which isn't weird. But to me, it was like, okay, I'm uncomfortable with my body. I'm not the most feminine, and I have these mental health issues. So what if that's the answer? And so that's kind of where I led to it. experimented with a few identities. I had first identified as like non-binary, like various identities, and then got to the conclusion that I was transgender and identified as that for quite some time. So, um, so a lot of the screenshots that I sent you that you may pull up are from Forever Space. A lot of them are also from Reddit, which I didn't use at the time, but I use it now. It's just it's a little bit more. I use Reddit a lot sometimes for finding things because it's very easy to search. Like do a Google search and Reddit will pop up very easily. That's why I search on Reddit a lot, and a lot of people use it. It's very well known. So a lot of the screenshots are either from Reddit, Trevor Space, or another site I used called Transpulse. That was just another
Yeah.
forum site, but that wasn't meant for kids. That was just
Morgan, excuse me, Maya. Morgan, can we rearrange the screen or?
yeah.
The way they were added, instead of assets, they were placed in the background. I'm trying to switch our layout right now so you can see it a bit better.
Instead of assets. Okay. Yeah. So
Okay, so now you guys can still talk.
so we can still talk.
Yes.
So you started out with and I have some others. It might be better just to talk about it, but so as you can see, Trevor Space is, as it says here, is an affirming international community for LGBTQ young people ages 13 to 24. So they are specifically directing their information to kids as young as 13 and up to 24. And it's basically start meeting friends. You can make friends, you can have community. Does that sound about right, Maya?
Yeah, that's how it was advertised to
And
me.
okay. And then you said that one of your, go ahead, that Trevor Space posted a gore-filled video of animal abuse. And I'm not sure what that would have to do with.
So this is a part of a collection of screenshots I found of people discussing things they had witnessed on Trevor Space. So this isn't like me or
Okay.
my friends. This is for other people have said. And so
Right.
just to
Okay.
confirm that I'm not crazy and I'm not the only one who had a bad experience with this site. A lot of people are saying
Yeah.
that the stuff on here was very inappropriate and very troubling and that moderation did not help them. There is a team of moderators on this site. They are not very good. As people say, they don't really take action against things like posting just stuff that you shouldn't have on a site that you specifically advertise to children.
Yeah.
And I had also learned when on my time on there at some point when I used the site, there was a troll that came on and would start mass flagging people's accounts to get them banned. Like they would create many accounts to flag people, and then the amount of flags would make like bots think to take the account down because of the reports. And so this person was going around like taking people down and allegedly like some other stuff. I don't remember exactly, but we the site collectively learned that the moderators do not actually work on weekends, so they did not deal with it for several days. And so you have a site that you specifically advertise from a suicide hotline for children that does
Right.
not have moderators multiple days of the week, that does not take action when things on the site are troubling. There were times I remember that people would talk about like suicide and self-harm, and none of the moderators would say anything. Like a fellow children would be talking people out of killing themselves or out of cutting themselves.
Yeah, and one of the things Johnny Skinner, who's going to come on the show when we can get it set up, he's very, if I can just be honest and say it, I think he would agree. He's a very effeminate young man who grew up in a rural area, heavily evangelical Christian, and his mother was given the advice that if you don't help him transition, he will commit suicide.
That's
And
a common narrative I see people say,
yeah,
especially with
yeah,
doctors and therapists.
yeah. And of course, she didn't want that to happen. And so he testified before the California legislature a day or two ago that, he wasn't given good advice. His mother wasn't given good advice. It didn't do anything to help him cope or just to realize he's just a gay guy. He's just gay. And he said, because of what he went through, the testosterone the other estrogen and the other medical interventions, that he has never had an orgasm and likely never will, because it causes these permanent, very significant damages. Another thing you told me that you came across in Trevor Space. Oh, and the bottom line of my story was, at one point he called Trevor Space. He was feeling suicidal, and he said they all but hung up the phone on him. So everything you're saying is that they're advertising one thing and not it sounds like not even making an effort to deliver
Yeah,
it.
they specifically advertise it as like a safe space, and if you go on the site and you see some of the stuff, it's just straight up not safe. One, because of the inappropriate content you're going to find on the site. Number two, because of the social dynamics, which I can start talking about. They because they advertise as a safe space, that people kind of act that way, especially, at least in my experience as a new user. Like, I was kind of love bombed. I felt this was a safe space, that these people were the only ones that were going to accept me. They were being very nice, but I learned pretty quickly that there's a lot of social rules. There is you can't say certain things, only some opinions are acceptable. You can't say anything that isn't like left wing. You can't just freely talk. You have to content warning or like trigger warning all your posts, no matter, like, for a bunch of things, and do it in a very specific way. So if you, I guess, broke one of these rules, you would be socially punished, either by people coming at you or just straight up ignoring you, withdrawing that affection. And so when you're in this space, first of all, these is advertised to suicidal teenagers. So think of the mindset. These are the people who said they were your safe space, and now they're going to take that away if you don't act how you want. So you learn to associate your companionship with your only people who will accept you is on the line if you do not comply. Which is why behavior and opinions can change pretty rapidly upon joining the site, because if there's a lot more at stake than just disagreeing with someone. It's you lose your social circle, you lose your safe space.
Yeah. So that's a kind of emotional blackmail.
Yeah. I compared it to, and I wrote some articles for the Parents with Inconvenient Truths about trans. I wrote some articles for them. One of them, I compared it to like a cult. If you learn about how they operate, I found it to be honestly pretty similar, to be honest.
Yeah. And they tell you to take people out of your life who don't affirm, but affirm is the wrong word, who don't just go along with it. And that is exactly how cults operate.
Which is why I actually think affirm is the right word. People usually say accept, but saying if they don't accept you is like kind of saying it is what it is, and you can either agree with it or not, but it is what it is. To say affirm is to agree, and you can affirm something that isn't true or is true, but it's like your opinion, which is why I like to say affirm instead of accept, even though most people would say accept.
Okay. All right.
But
Um,
however y'all like to talk is fine. That's just what I say.
yeah, no, I mean, that's one of the things is we don't really need to have everybody agreeing to use the same language and not having any um, opinion on it. And one of the things that you said too, I don't know if you got this advice on Trevor Space. I think it was, yeah, Trevor Space. I think it may have been on mermaids where,
Mermaids is a not specifically a social site. That's a charity that goes to like schools and stuff and works with parents and children. So that's not one of the online sites. I think there was just a mistake there, but it's okay.
well, what I was getting at was that you were advised, I think in one of these spaces, that if your mother would not agree to you being undergoing medical interventions, that you should call child protective services on you.
Yeah, that was someone who I did send you that image if you were able to pull it up on the screen or not. It's okay if you can't, but that message was sent to me by someone on a site called Transpulse. It's one of those forum sites for trans identified people, but not targeted towards kids, essentially. This is not it. It was the one.
That's not it,
It's
man.
okay. Yeah, this is it.
There it is. Okay.
So this is a reply to a post I made on that site talking about gender dysphoria, I guess. And this was this person's response to me. I should have also screenshot the post I made, but it is what it is. So this is pretty like the advice people would say because they think if you are not affirmed and transition that you are at risk of killing yourself, that it's like torturous to live this way. So that they think anyone that is not affirming you is hurting you.
Yeah. Let's see. Was there more to that one?
I don't think so. I think it was just a one screenshot.
I'm still learning this.
It's okay.
StreamYard, and it's not clear to me what everything does and doesn't do, and so these are real tiny little images.
It's okay.
But I think you also said, I think it was you who told me that had you lived in a state that was not a red state, and had they taken you from your mother at that time in your life, you would have welcomed it. You would have thought that was something good happening.
I would have. At the time I wanted to transition, I had planned as an adult that I was gonna get like a double mastectomy. I was gonna take testosterone, and then I may have even gotten phalloplasty. I mean, I knew at the time that phalloplasty was kind of terrible, that people have complications left and right. But I hoped that by the time I was an adult, the surgery would become like safe and better. Magical thinking. I'm an adult. It's still terrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was very insecure about my breasts, especially. I
Because
so
you
jealous
were
of people who had.
uncomfortable having them.
I was very uncomfortable having them at the
Yeah.
time, and especially I had always had a little bit of insecurity about them, but if anything, it got worse when I started identifying as trans because once I did, before it was just like an insecurity like any other. After I had internalized that they should not be there. That I'm right for having this insecurity. Like if you're like, oh, I'm fat, everyone's gonna be like, no, you're not fat, you're fine. Unless you actually are fat. But no, normally people will be like, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
If you're insecure about other things, like and people say it's not a big deal, like, oh, my nose is big, who cares? It's not a big deal. Oh, I'm flat chested, okay, who cares? It's not a big deal. You love yourself. But when you said this message to these people in this space, they're like, yeah, you should get it removed. Yeah, here's my inspo pic of my top surgery. Here's my here's all the cool things I saw this video, like, oh yeah, here's the I'm clothes I'm so excited to wear now that I've got top surgery. Look how much better it fits now. I don't have these anymore. And that's the message you get. So that had increased my insecurity about them at the time. And I was very insecure. I didn't want to look at my body. I was wearing sports bras all the time. I had sometimes worn like two. I heard someone say you could like bind by using two sports bras, which I did sometimes. I would also slouch a lot, like stand like this, so you could so my shirt would hang looser, and it wouldn't look like I had breasts. And when I over things like showering and like having to even just wash my bras and didn't have one to wear for a little bit, I would be very upset about it. I honestly remember times like I would just like cry looking at my body because I was like, I found this so insecure and almost disgusted by it.
Let me take a minute to say, welcome, Morgan. I don't know. I don't think she could hear you. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Morgan. Okay. It looks like you're still in a car.
Yes, I do apologize.
Oh, it's all good. You know, it's all good. Just wanted to say, hey, I'm glad you are here. Yeah. I mean, you know, it just builds on the fact that a lot of kids, when they're going through puberty, are already so uncomfortable with what's happening. I don't remember being concerned about my breast developing, but I started to have my period when I was 10 years old. And that was way ahead of other girls. And it was, you know, it was a different day too. It was, we didn't have the same products that we have now. And, you know, there were just, it was a whole different setting. But I do remember thinking that, you know, at 100 pounds, I was fat. You know, I didn't look like the other girls. I didn't have skinny legs, you know, those things. And you're just already like not enjoying puberty very much. And then you know, people come along and, you know, I think one other thing that happens online, which I've spoken of in the past, is the prevalence of pornography.
Yeah.
And some of it's very violent, sadistic. And I think a lot of young people would, and you can understand why, would conclude if this is what it means to be a grown woman, I don't want to go there. If this is what it means to be
heard that perspective that people have said that before, and I have also heard from hearing people talk. There's a high comorbidity between trans identification in girls and them having been raped or sexually abused. Now, me personally, I've never been sexually abused, but so I'm not talking from experience when I talk about this, but I have heard people say in many different aspects that after such trauma, many women try to make themselves less attractive, like less of a conventionally attractive woman because they think it will protect them. And so I've heard some people say like they gained a lot of weight because they thought it would protect them. Other people have said they transitioned. They didn't try to look like a man because they won't touch me if I'm a man.
Yeah.
There's also the other perspective that, especially because there's such a high comorbidity between trans identification and depression, I learned it's like alarmingly high. So when the depressed people are especially vulnerable to addictions because they are looking for an external dopamine source that their brain just doesn't give them. That's why they'll turn to drugs. Then they'll be more open to trying drugs and getting addicted than other people are because it's an artificial dopamine. It changes their brain to give them dopamine that they lack. And so there's drug substance type addictions, but there's also other type of addictions that give you artificial dopamine in other ways. One of these things is sex, masturbating, and pornography. It's a powerful feeling, and when you're depressed, sometimes that's the only thing that gives you any kind of joy or happiness. So people who think of the kind of people who would devote their lives to a fetish.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
kind of people who don't get joy outside of it.
Yeah. Right.
And that's not to say that all trans identified people have a fetish, but some do. And
Yeah.
so there's this kind of idea that they're predators if they do, but I kind of disagree. They can be predators, but I don't necessarily think being sex obsessed makes you a predator as if you're not hurting anybody. But that's just my take.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think predator is one of those words we throw around pretty loosely right now. And I mean, people have problems. And one of the, as I think you've alluded to, one of the things that has been going on is that people have comorbidities. They have other things happening in their lives. They may have been sexually abused. They may have a volatile home environment. They may come from a background where being gay or lesbian is just a shockingly horrible thing to be. And so you try to cope with it. And then along come these big funding operations to take advantage of, particularly, that you've got these spaces directed, like Trevor Space, directed to 13 to 24. And, and it's away from their parents. It's, private in a way that most children it was never meant that they should have that kind of privacy.
I'm sorry about the banging. I don't know what the heck is going on around me.
Oh, no, it's okay. It's okay. I'm fiddling with my ring light too because I'm getting so much light. It's like, good grief.
Yeah, that's okay. I think one of my neighbors is.
No, and another one of the sites that you wound up on, there was Mermaid, and there was also, but I want to go back to Mermaid for a second because I know.
So that was something. So Mermaids specifically is not an actual website. They go to, I guess, with parents or schools and give presentations. I think they're based in the UK. So that was just something I heard because of the resources that I found on there that they made public, and like this is the education that people are getting on trans, which is very alarming. But that was not one of the sites I used. I used Trevor Space and I used Trans Pulse.
Yeah, well, Trans Pulse is a whole other thing.
You can check this out for sure.
What?
But yeah, we can check this out. If they have a forum on here, I'm just to clarify that this wasn't something I used. This is just something I saw as an educational resource, not like a forum, if you know what I mean.
Well, what I wanted to, because you had mentioned it, and Trevor Space and Pulse, Trans Pulse, I went to these sites, their websites, and the thing is, even Mermaids, I mean, look at that. It may be information for parents, but it's got a little kitty cat, and it's got a little shark. These are very definitely, to my mind, are appealing to kids, and they also have quite a bit of merch like this. The little boy wearing the t-shirt with the shark, which apparently means something.
Yeah, a shark. I'm not sure the origin of this, but I know that a shark is like a trans symbolism can be because they
Oh, are they one of those?
Yeah, there's this. I don't know the meaning of it. I'm gonna be honest, but I know that a lot of trans identified people, they have it's like kind of like a symbol, like how do trans listeners have like the lizard, and I know it has a meaning, but it's not that important. It's just like a symbolism. Like the shark is sometimes that, especially specifically the blahage from IKEA, that stuffed shark. They sometimes use it as like kind of like code symbolism, like it's a trans shark or whatever. I don't know what it means. I don't know the origin, but I just know that's something that's used a lot, and you'll find a lot in these spaces. Just disproportionate amount of sharks.
Yeah. Well, I was just pointing out that when I went to that website, regardless of what it says it's about, it's um, there's a clear direction towards kids. You know, with the logo, the little kitty cat and the shark and the pink and the blue and the merch, and then there is the horrifying Merd's mango. Yeah. So the mango aspect of it is, this was interesting to me too. It's an mango. Now this is with mermaids, is an acronym that stands for Mermaids Advocacy Network Group Online. And there again, you've got, this is a group, how it began. And then while you're reading it, down, you can't really see it, but down in the far left-hand corner, it's popping up every few seconds that so-and-so in Australia has pledged 10 pounds a month. So-and-so in the US has pledged 10 pounds a month. So there again, you've got this real emphasis on getting the money in. But the most offensive to me is trans pulse. And would you agree with me that Maya, that they take it sort of next level?
I think they do sort of take it next level, but the reason why is because I think this is made for adults. So the other ones are keeping it a little undercover because they are directly aimed at children. I think Trans Pulse is aimed at adults, but they allow children, so they still need to be held accountable. So in terms of content, I would say, yeah, it's pretty out there.
Well, they say one of the things I picked up on was they say we're not in favor of girls binding their chest. It's dangerous.
Is that on Trans Pulse?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Pretty sure.
I don't remember having seen that. I'm not sure if it's new or not, but I believe you. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't remember that specifically. But in a way, that almost makes it kind of better because if you go on like Trevor Space or something, they're going to encourage it. Like, oh, it's perfectly safe. It's
well, but necessary. The thing is, they say they're opposed to it, but you go to their merch section and they're selling it.
Yeah,
selling binders and selling, sex toys, or that's a mixed message. I wouldn't want any child. I don't want anybody going on that website. I don't like anything about it from what I've seen, but it's let's see. Where did the person?
There's a forum that I think you need to come out to view.
Pardon me?
There's a forum on Trans Pulse if you're trying to look for the chats or whatever. It's you need to log in to be able to view it.
Oh, yeah.
But
it's not recommended. I don't know. What do you think, Morgan? Can we have moving parts?
It's so fascinating. I think what's interesting is you say that these sites are generated towards children.
Trevor Space specifically is. They say we're aimed at people 13 to 24, so that would encompass children. So they're aiming at children.
Yeah. But it's the and the other one is the Trans Pulse. What I find interesting is Trans Pulse is not tied directly towards children. I don't think that did. But you said that they were, selling the sex toys on the website. I find that interesting as it's, the movement towards, being trans is like you feel not natural in your body. So to have that tied with the sexual gratification is very interesting in my point of view. Does that make sense?
The reason it's tied with sexual gratification is because for many people it is a fetish. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And that's why they would sell the sex toys. A lot of people get off on that idea, like autogynephilia. People do get off to it. Not usually children, I'll say, because that site is for adults mainly. So probably the people on there may be autogynephilic men looking for sex toys and getting off to the idea of themselves as a woman, joined on the site by suicidal children.
Yeah. And that's really the issue that we're trying to um, doing this doing this deep dive into, trying to figure out what is actually going on out there, especially as regards children. Because part of the trans narrative, the activist narrative, is that children are capable of consenting. And then you've got all these sources available to them, and children are not known for being able to make the best decisions or understanding what's going on, which is why we have to be so careful of them.
Yeah, because the children will see this, and if it's not straight up presented the first time as a debate or controversial take, they're just going to take it as a fact. Kids are sponges. They pick up on everything that you say and everything that they see.
Well, I
So
think
when you present it educationally, an adult may read that and like, okay, this is your opinion. A kid reads this and thinks this is the truth.
Or it's this magic pill that, oh, I feel so awkward in my body. Something must be wrong. That must be my outlet to kind of correct everything. I guess my point that I was trying to make with the trans pulse and, you saying that, often sometimes is tied to fetishes, is that it incites people to come to those sites with ill intention, as opposed to making a site with, the betterment of bringing knowledge to people or seeking relief for people who feel like they want to find answers. Like, you're creating a space that is prone to be a predatory space when you allow those things to happen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't have to set yourself up, as it's not like the old days where a van showed up on the, a van and a man with a puppy, and you could teach your kids, avoid vans and men with puppies who want you to come look at their puppy. That kind of thing. Now it's gotten much more sophisticated. And unfortunately, from my years in immigration, like, I think Mermaids is like a 501c3 in UK. It's a charity.
Yeah.
And of course, there are a lot of charities in immigration who don't care what they say. They don't read the documents they're promoting. And it's about getting the money in. Once you start the money coming in, then you're loath to say, okay, we did it. Okay. Go home, pack it up, go home. No, that's they've got to find something else out there or promote, the thing coming down the path that promises things it will never deliver, like comprehensive immigration reform would never deliver what they were saying it would deliver. But that's neither here nor there, really.
Earlier you mentioned I'm sorry. Earlier you mentioned predators becoming more robust. I learned a little bit about the way predators act as well. They prey on two things. One, they want to get children to like them. They will engage in things that children like and find themselves in these kind of spaces, and online spaces, especially with things that gravitate towards children. You will find predators, especially with an example being like the whole Roblox situation. It's so popular among kids. Like, I have Gen Roblox the game. I have like Gen Alpha cousins. They are obsessed with Roblox. It's a whole issue that was being exposed about predators on Roblox, people meeting up with kids going missing, sexual content, and the site doing absolutely nothing about it, banning people who try to expose them and letting predators roam free. These people are trying to gain access to children, A, in a way that will like them, and B, they prey on the lack of knowledge that parents and adults have about children's spaces and children's lingo and world. They prey on parents' naivety. So when it used to be, oh, it's a van, it used to be like the predators just didn't really thing. So that if someone comes up in a van like, yo, take a look at my puppy, you would assume, okay, he's just a nice man. And so people become aware of it, and so you don't see that anymore because it's too obvious. So now we got to go online where people won't see it. And then like, okay, online predators don't like send nudes to people. Okay, I'm gonna be your friend. Let's be friends. Now let's talk about sex. It's grooming, but it's not obvious. And
Yeah.
something specifically, grooming does not feel like abuse because the entire goal is to make you comfortable with them and to present themselves as a friend.
I know that Meta itself, the Instagram and Facebook, they were caught in a big scandal a few years back, basically kind of with the same thing, but they were promoting underage girls who were posting provocative photos online while knowing that they were underage. And it was this big controversy because that they could figure out that they knew that they were underage, and yet they were still promoting their content to other men that perceive to like that content. So it's they themselves were acting in a predatory manner, as opposed to banning those accounts or silencing those accounts or alerting the authorities to some of the the men that had a proclivity for those types of pages. So it's such a new world when you have the internet playing in these roles, when people normally that we were shown, they seem very cutesy, very friendly, and very inviting. But so the parents have this trust, and they're being confronted with something that is very foreign to them. And of course, every single parent wants to do, majority parents, they want to do good by their children. So it's even they're kind of being preyed upon in that sense.
Yeah.
I think it's also that parents don't really know what their kids are doing online. I'm just straight up. Because all this I had access to, I was technically not allowed on social media at all, but I was using it anyway through these kind of not very obvious, like Facebook, Reddit stuff. I would go on these obscure sites that parents wouldn't know about because they don't recognize it. And there's even sites that have social features that you wouldn't think about. I saw someone say like, I personally use like this site where I would upload like drawings I did, like coloring pages I did, and there was social features on the site. You could talk to people and get all these different things, including trans talk to an extent. Not a lot of it, but there's some in a social space. And I heard someone say that their child had got access to some predator, some trans predator who groomed their kid into identifying as trans, and then I don't actually remember exactly, so I'm sorry if this is just straight up false. But I think but I do remember that this kid had got through it through like a Lego site, and it was you think it's games, but it's not.
I mean, I don't disbelieve that there has been some instances like that. Of course, we hear so much. Like the Roblox is a great example. My nephew, who's 6 years old, that's what he loves to do. By all accounts, it's very an innocent thing. It's this very like basic graphic, and he just plays these chopping wood, or it's very But there's also the added component where you can talk to people, which it seems like that is like the underlying aspect of where predators gravitate towards. I remember my generation, it was like Club Penguin, Webkins, like those things that might be too young for that. But
I'm too old for all of it. I have no idea what y'all are talking about, but that's why it's a value.
Also had private chats that I think that they I know Club Penguin, they got there was a lot of, I guess, police officers would actually find a lot of men who were trying to solicit children through those websites. I'm not sure about Webkins, but Club Penguin was one of the websites that they were doing it. So it's this known thing where they have these childhood apps. When there's this added element of a private chat, it seems like that's where it's a known thing that predators will rush towards. So it's a very odd thing to keep rolling out these different forms of applications and games where kids have that option.
Yeah. I think some people might not necessarily realize it because sometimes it's fun, just straight up. They think, oh, I'm going to make a game. I'm going to add this chat feature so that we can, communicate with players.
Mm-hmm.
Especially like with team games or things like that involve communication. It's an added aspect that makes it fun.
Immersive, yeah.
But when your site gravitates towards children and you have free chat, you need to understand that this is where these are the types of sites that predators will rush to.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, free chat.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Ellen. It's like just like a little side section where you can text with whoever's on the forum that day. You can even send them private messages, and so it's not seen for the whole group that you're playing with, kind of thing.
Well, I know even on Facebook where I hang out, I mean, Twitter's different, or X, but on Facebook, you feel like you're forming these relationships, and then suddenly you're getting a text from a guy saying that you've been sharing information about immigration or gay marriage or whatever it is, and he's like, I have a feeling I may not be your cup of tea, but could we get together sometime? And I'm like, you moron. No, we can't get together. Mm-hmm. Or they start sending you messages like, sometimes you act like you really don't like me very much. And I'm like, wonder why. I'm just like, you're a married man with kids and dogs. Why are you saying this? What does it matter to you if I like you or don't like you? So what I'm saying is, I mean, I've been around the block multiple times and have had lots of experiences with people, but when it's that online space, I still don't see it coming. I can't really pick up on what's going on. That's not just that's not being typed out.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is also fascinating and, also infuriating that these sites exist and that they are taking place and that they're, really exploiting children at the very most vulnerable time. Like Ellen, you said, we're both kind of experiencing puberty. It's like you feel so foreign in your body already because you had just spent the majority of what you already know, just being this kid. And then you have this added element of, of emotional irregularity, and then you got the hormones that are playing all these games with you, and then it's a very step time for people to come in and try and influence you and really kind of take advantage of the your ignorance at that
which is why I find it especially criminal that they try to mix this with healthcare and mental health care. Because that's how Trevor Space, I guess how I found it, because they first on the front exist as a suicide hotline, which is mental health straight up. It's not any kind of ideology, and on the surface, it's obviously a noble goal, like preventing teen suicide, whether LGBTQ or not, is a noble goal. But behind the surface, they have this free chat, adults and kids mixed in, have at it with inappropriate content and no moderation. And they present that, and even worse is the doctors who actually will give hormones and surgeries to children and present it as fact when it is not, and it's ideological.
Well, one of the things you also pointed out to me was that on, I guess it was Trevor's Space, that there is a guy there advertising that he can get you, they call it DIY.
Yeah, HRT. DIY hormones or HRT.
So he was saying
on Trevor Space a discussion involving both adults and teenagers. I saw the accounts. I was just so curious. I had to take a look at the accounts. It'll tell you based on how you create your account if it's allegedly an adult or allegedly a child. There's also this guy. So the first thing I saw, there's two things I saw. The first thing I saw was on Trevor Space, people talking about DIY hormones and recommending it. And then there's what's on the screen right now is this Eli Ehrlich guy who I don't remember where he advertises. I think it's on Instagram or something. But he is essentially giving away his estrogen pills to children, and there's
I
no
think he's
doctor
getting
involved.
over ordered somehow. And how you over order, I
don't know how you over order.
believe that's what he
Yeah.
said. Wait.
Yeah, that's
Oh, this is so frustrating, Morgan.
So
that's two
okay,
different
so
things.
I
One
don't
is
want
the
to get
Eli Ehrlich guy, and then this is people on Trevor's Space talking about DIY hormones, adults and children, and they're just
yes,
recommending it. There's no doctor involved in this. It's risky enough to do it with a doctor. There's like monitoring your levels and side effects that needs to go on with
sure.
it that people don't understand. You can't just be giving. I mean, you're essentially just giving away medication to children. Let's be straight up about what this is. Imagine someone doing this with any other medication.
Which I mean,
hey,
personal experience, I take medication or I have in the past, and I mean it's hard to get that from my doctor. Like they, like,
Yeah.
certain types of like you said, you have to do the check-ins, you have to do the blood work, you have to, for their even licensing, they have to make sure that they see you on regular basis to make sure that they don't do anything ill-advised or lead you down the wrong path. So it's very, very interesting how these are getting in the hands in an excessive amount that they can give them away. I just want you to kind of describe what we're seeing on the screen, because I think like a little bit of the text is
Yeah, it got cropped out a little bit. I have the original image. I can pull it up and read. So essentially, the photo we can see is chopped up pills, and let me get the actual original image. I can read. It reads, I order 4 times more estrogen and testosterone blockers than I actually take. You should too. Several states have now banned trans medicine for minors, but we won't let a single young person go without medication. We'll provide care ourselves if youth can't access formal medicine. So that's how I guess he's doing it. He's placing false orders, like just fraudulent orders saying he needs all this and he doesn't, and he's giving it to children.
So I guess on the bottom of this post, you could have children and adults both interact with this post, or is this post kind of just posted?
I'm not sure. This specific post I found elsewhere. This was not on Trevor Space, so this is not a Trevor Space specific thing. So I'm not exactly sure. Based on the other post he made, there were 2 that I found. One of them I'm pretty sure is on Instagram. And on Instagram, anyone can have at it. You can be an adult, you can be a kid. Just reply if you want to. This may also be on Instagram, the first one. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, I'm pretty sure if you're a child, if you have whatever app this is on, you're probably be able to interact with this post of his and get access to these drugs.
Okay, now this one, you kind of alluded to it, but Trevor Space will show you if this perceived account is either most likely being an adult or a child.
This specific image is my editing. If you go on Trevor Space and you go to you click on the profile and go to the account like you would on any other kind of social media, it'll tell you just like on the top banner, like adult or child. Okay. This is some editing that I did to blur, first of all, just blur their identities, because I'm not going to go doxing these people. I don't care what they're talking about. It's just not appropriate to be doing. But also to tell you what I saw in their account, just added context. So this is my personal editing, not the actual site itself.
Yeah. That's good to make that
anyway, blurring and me typing over it. But it'll give a profile picture and a name like every other social media, and you tap on their profile like any other social media, and like right below their name it'll tell you adult or child.
Gotcha. Okay. But that's, I see from kind of what you've popped up, you do have a method for interaction with these posts, these comments, which is, again, I reiterate, that is welcome towards adults and people who are, they say upwards of 25. So you're 13 as a child. And there was this other image that Ellen added. It seems like it has kind of cropped it out. So this is a person.
Yeah, is it possible? Question. I'm 17 and trans masc, so female to male. I'm curious how I can DIY her HRTs, so DIY hormones. I don't really know how it works. Tips, please. And asking for people's comments. This is a minor.
Yeah. And so then in this post, you'll probably have under the comments or people who within the Trevor space you directly message somebody like in a private.
Yeah, you can. They
Okay.
do have a thing where if your account says you're an adult, you can't message an account that says they're a child and vice versa. However, they don't have any age verification, so it's very easy to go and lie about it. But you can type just straight up under this post any age, or you can private message someone in the same bracket of age, either adult or child.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the site functions.
Gotcha. I mean, I think they do that in that sense to try and mitigate liability kind of thing. So what that shows me is that they recognize that these sites have been used for nefarious reasons in the past, and that's why they're trying to at least have some, I guess, perceive to the public that they're trying to create these mechanisms to hinder those actions to occur, but they're still really facilitating this major platform that is, it seems to kind of.
Good point. Yeah.
Let's put us back on the screen unless you have some other images that you want to show, Ellen.
I can't.
If there's any others that I sent you, you can pull them if you wish.
I know that we
become relevant
about Trevor Space, Trans Pulse, mermaids.
You sent me I think you've already mentioned this, about masturbation and asking if there's anyone who would like to.
Yeah, this is part of the Trevor Space testimonies. So this is something someone had witnessed on Trevor Space. Essentially, this is one of many people. I saw another. I don't know if I sent you another one of someone saying they keep seeing pedophiles on Trevor Space.
Yes.
And nobody does anything about it because the moderation is ass.
Sorry, this is the only way I know to do this. Nope.
Yeah, this is what I've mentioned. This is just someone on the site saying there's a bunch of pedophiles on here. What the hell?
And as far as you know, nothing came of it.
No.
Yeah.
Not as far as I know. I mean, unless something I didn't know happened, then likely nothing. And a lot of people talk about these kind of things, but usually nothing happens. There's a lot of people talking on the site about how the moderation is terrible and it needs to be better. This is what happened to me. A lot of people, like, it's not just a me thing with this site. This is an ongoing problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, do you have a thought on whether these sites should be shut down altogether? Either by the government or by Google, or I don't know. Or do you think they'd just go underground and kids would find them anyway?
So I don't want to be like into censoring, especially if you're an adult. If there's a difference between an adult and a child, and I'll get to it. If you're an adult, you should be able to access whatever site you want to access. But when you advertise this kind of a site to children, you need to be responsible for the things that happen on these sites, and you need to understand that what goes on this site is being seen by children. So, personally, I would probably want to see maybe an investigation into this because of what people are saying, the alleged abuse on these sites, the pedophiles that I don't do anything about, the insanely inappropriate content on these sites and the moderation that is not existent, despite it being a site advertised by a suicide hotline to teenagers, and there's just not being held accountable for it. Mm-hmm. I think individuals need to be in trouble, but I wouldn't. Just my opinion. I'm not into site censorship for adults, but that's just my take.
Well, I think
I don't want to say take down any site that says something I don't like, even if it's egregious and horrible, because who draws the line? That's my opinion. If you want to take it on this site, you have to draw the line at what's inappropriate and what's not, and who's deciding that. So, but however, individuals, there's like criminal content that I've seen with the pedophiles A, the drug selling B, there's
And
criminal.
this guy could be tracked down. I mean, even if he's using a fake name, I mean, there are people
Yeah,
who
that's what I was.
understand you have to go out. And I wonder if there have been any lawsuits.
I wonder too. I genuinely don't know if there's been any kind of lawsuit with that guy.
Or any.
I don't think anything
any.
has become of the Trevor Space drama, one of many things, because all these accounts are anonymous. Nobody's going by their real name on that site.
I think awareness, biggest thing, for young parents who are young, if they're having children, being introduced to this new realm, awareness on these issues that some of these sites that perceive to be educational will maybe help your child, or like kind of what you're alluding to, Maya, is like, more kind of diligence in watching what your child is up to, and in knowing that, okay, they may not be on Instagram, and you might check their Instagram and everything might be fine, but they might be doing other things. They might be in other forums that have these private chats. This new element where, the people who genuinely know about these new websites and the private chats are going to be predators. So being aware of that, when you get into the censorship and outlawing, like you said, where do we draw the line? And that pretty much absolves some of these people who are knowingly allowing these platforms to continue and be predatory, allowing, a space for these people who are going to take these exploitive actions on children to kind of get away with it. And I think what a major thing would be is probably litigation on direct individuals that are taking these actions, if not the heads of these charities. You're taking all this money and how you're facilitating these forums. I think kind of openly talking about facilitating drugs to another person, whether, I guess you could do it with aspirin, but like you're talking about actual prescription drugs.
Yeah, it's a little different than over-the-counter medication.
Yeah. So I'm sure that there is some kind of laws against that, because you cannot do that if you're not a licensed medical professional.
I'd be shocked if there wasn't a law against that.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I would say is maybe if you have these highlighted cases where, this person who, this Eric person gets prosecuted for facilitating drugs to a minor,
it's on down the line. The charges would be as long as you are.
Yeah.
And
but I think what you're running into, Ellen, is a lot of the social structure of this, how this this is spoken about in forums. You're really not, this is kind of the hush hush conversation. We're not supposed to be out and about having these conversations in a forum where people can access it. It really is kind of probably an underground network of people that are saying and trying to alert people, like, be careful on this website, or kind of like we posted on that little, someone commented saying that they had witnessed, a few predators, what's going on this website, these things highlighted and pushed to the top as they should be. I think that's kind of what we're trying to accomplish on this show, is to
make people aware of what's actually going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't think of myself as being an especially naive person, but Maya, what you taught me is just, I knew it in theory, that there was a lot that children were exposed to on the internet, bad stuff on the internet, but seeing these actual, going to these websites and then bringing my own sort of, my hermeneutics of suspicion to what I'm seeing, with the logos and I'm seeing things that are not overt. I don't, and then the Southern Poverty Law Center comes along. And
Declaring anyone who questions this a hate group.
a hate group.
Yeah.
And seriously, and the thing about the Southern Poverty Law Center is it is like the blue ribbon social justice group, the blue ribbon, top of the line. Young lawyers sacrificed their future careers to work for the Southern Poverty Law Center because it was thought to be so on what I would call the left of the working class, and free speech, and it has a huge reputation. It has a reputation that could never be matched by any of these groups that you've introduced me to, or something like GenSpect. It could never. That it's not a fair fight.
Yeah,
I mean, in their minds that if the Southern Poverty Law Center says it, and I've noticed now that when you Google these things, right away it says, GenSpect is a hate group. Maya is promoting conversion therapy. There's this young
this is.
I don't, and if it pops up, you're like, how many people have been turned? Stella O'Malley is a right-winger who promotes conversion therapy.
This is part of why I didn't want to have my full name on this, because I don't want anyone to be searching my name and finding and have someone accuse me of being in a hate group or
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
How to not get a job in an economy where there's already no jobs. That's how to get canceled. But
for real.
And this is also kind of why people are afraid to come after these groups, because imagine trying to talk shit about Trevor Space. Imagine being like, oh yeah, I'm going to talk shit about the teen suicide hotline. Wow. But because they're not being held accountable, because people are afraid to say anything because of such a noble goal.
Or that the guys
I wonder if we have anyone in the chat space who has a comment or a question for Maya while we still have her.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't see any, so
I don't see any as of now.
Yeah, if anyone has anything, I'm free to answer if I can see it.
I don't see any.
Yeah, we are still a fresh show, so we appreciate you, Maya, so much for joining us.
Yes, we're fresh.
Really fresh so far. So I applaud you in speaking out and really kind of being cognizant of what you were kind of witnessing. Even if it wasn't right at the time. Kind of coming to terms with understanding that these tactics are not acceptable, especially not acceptable to target them towards children. And especially children who are in such a vulnerable state. So, your voice is really, really, really powerful. And I hope that it does.
I'm sorry. I'm interrupting and you're breaking up, Morgan. So those two things are.
Oh, do I have a bad signal?
Yeah, it's choppy and it's okay. I'm getting what you're saying, but when it hits a dead space, and I think, well, you're done. So that's why I'm interrupting you. But I just want to say, Maya is clearly a very intelligent and observant and not just knowledgeable, but she's intelligent and she's observant. And I mean, you have been on the ground, with this, and you've experienced being propagandized to the extent that you would say that had you lived in a blue state and CPS came for you or for your mother as someone recommended you turn her in, that you would have welcomed it. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just that's not a kooky kid, hanging out in alleys and getting into trouble, or
Yeah.
so that's I've got
Yeah,
two
I'm very,
dogs.
very sure, and it's not as common as we would hope to have that kind of foresight and to kind of acknowledging what's happening and not being okay with it, or understanding, kind of coming to terms with what had actually happened. So that is I wish it wasn't, but
Yeah.
but
And Maya, you also told me, I think, that you and your mother are in a good place now.
Yeah, we are getting along a lot better. At the time, I thought I considered her to be abusive. Like I didn't want to live with her. I thought she was hurting me, but like, and we had a very poor relationship. I hid a lot from her, and I lied a lot. But now it's completely different. Like we don't even live together anymore, but we talk all the time. We call like every day. We are doing a lot better now because I no longer feel the need to lie.
Well, that's another part of the fallout from this kind of setup. Is that it estranges kids from their parents and
Absolutely.
encourages them to lie and create a lot of space.
So,
which granted leaves more room for grooming. And in my that's kind of one of those methods, is to separate the child from the parent.
Absolutely. It's like a step one of grooming.
A grand way to do that is to say they're the issue. So it seems like such a prime recipe for disaster, and more people need to kind of be alerted to some of the signs of that.
Yeah, and when you mentioned that, I just want to, if we're nearing the end, I want to specify something that, an opinion of mine, is that I don't see myself as a victim because I'm probably the best case scenario of what could have happened had someone came across this. As someone who had once I got to the point of identifying as trans, me having done through a few years and coming out of it with no physical damage and some insight and just moving on is the best case scenario. So when everything I'm saying right now about my experience, this is like the tame edition, because when people come on here, they come out the other side with permanent physical damage and harm from doctors. It's a completely different world I haven't experienced. And so that's what I want to specify, that that's why I want to say that I'm not a victim, because this is the best case scenario, and this is the outcome that I wished had happened to more people, that it wasn't allowed. Just straight up, the parents did not affirm, the state did not affirm, and you grow up and realize what's appropriate and what's not appropriate and what's true and not true, and move on. And that should have been the case for everyone, but in these states where it's not, these kids are coming out of here with permanent physical damage.
Yeah.
And
have you ever thought of writing a book?
I haven't considered it truly. I mean, I might, but I haven't given it much thought. I do write for parents with inconvenient truths about trans, and I've written for I don't really write for it, but I post on Twitter. I actually do have an article coming out for Pitt Substack tomorrow. It's perfect timing.
Okay. I don't think I created a banner for that, but this is PITT, which stands for Parents
With Inconvenient Truths about Trans. I don't know why I'm joining this, because I'm not a parent, but they let me post.
You have published a number of pieces for them, and that's on Substack. So if anybody wants to read your pieces, and I will be looking for the one tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. It's supposed to be publishing tomorrow. It's called, I believe, I titled it "A World of Lies," and you can guess what it's about.
I like that.
It's actually I started commenting. You mentioned Johnny Skinner. I initially started talking about him because when at the time of writing that, he had just released a testimony and people were trying to call him out as a liar, except their call outs were hypocritical. And so that's what triggered this whole thing. And you'll notice it's the first thing I mentioned is all of the hypocrisy, which reminded me of more hypocrisy and more hypocrisy, which is why I titled it A World of Lies. Because this entire movement is built on lies and lies build more lies, and that's why we see the things like this.
Okay, I'll be looking forward to that. And if people want to, if you want to disclose how you what your handles are on X.
Yeah, sure. I forget exactly what I made it. Let me pull it up. Hang on one second. So on Substack, I am Ghost12 at Ghost121. Or Ghost121. On Twitter, I am Rob Bob, and the handle I believe is Rob Bobbed. ROBBOBED, Rob Bobbed, the handle. Rob Bob, one word, the name. People on Twitter assume my name is Rob and that I'm a dude, but it's actually not based on my name at all. It's based on characters I created as a child. Rob and Bob, they're a duo, and they're a terrible law firm. They're gonna lose your case so fast. Inappropriate courtroom activity and just horrid law firm. And I initially made that my name because I didn't plan on using my Twitter account, but I ended up using it, and then I didn't want to change it. So.
Well, that's where I found you, and I don't remember exactly how it came about, but gosh, I'm so glad you came on the show.
No, thank you.
And, we'd love to have you back. Again, talk probably more about whatever interesting things you're up to, the articles you're writing, and
of course, if you have anything else you need me to come on and talk about, I'd love to. That'd be perfectly fine.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
sure.
Thank you so much.
Just give us an update.
Very creative with the names. My name is very, very big on social media.
Yeah, mine too. My name is Ellen Jimerson at Ellen Jimerson.
My brain does not have that sort of creativity.
But the downside is that everyone thinks you're a dude. But actually, I don't really care. But then people assume that when I talk about things, are quick to call me misogynist or whatever. I'm a woman. But they have this idea that when you speak and they assume it's coming from a man, that they interpret it a little different. That's the only issue with it. I don't care about the pronoun thing. If someone were to ask me my pronouns, my genuine answer is any, because I don't control how you talk about me. Talk about me however you want, refer to me however you want. Although I have a feeling I know which one you're going to use. But do whatever. If you want to call me he, have at it.
Yeah,
somebody
asked me in person, what are your pronouns? And I'm like, well, what do you think they are?
That's my answer now. Whatever you want them to be.
What is your
you tell me. You're the one talking about me and not you tell me.
Yeah,
exactly. So upcoming are that's what happens to this brain.
Well, I would say stay tuned.
She's coming up next week.
Yeah, life has been throwing us a lot today. I was in the car for over an hour. Internet issues, the works. But stay tuned. We'll see our future guests. We go live every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Central time. And that's kind of how I will leave off the night, unless you want to say something, Ellen.
Nope, we just have our outro, and we'll see you again, Maya. Thank you again.
No, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.